Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I'm just going to kind of talk on here today, but I'm also going to read a meditation. I'm going to read from something else here in just a little bit. I am highly emotional, and I haven't filmed any of my other videos today. This is my first video that I have filmed today, and I went and I got my coffee, and I was driving around, and I came home, and I thought to myself, this is the video that I need to make first. I need to just kind of talk about this and get this out, and then I think that I can go on with my day. I think that I will be a little bit more balanced than I am. And I'm really emotional, but in a positive way. And so I want to kind of explain that to you. For many of you that watch this channel on a regular basis or watch my vlogs, you'll already know this. But tomorrow, December 17th, should I make it there, I will have been sober 25 years. And so I was driving around today and I was thinking to myself, like, I was thinking a lot about the last day that I used. 25 years ago, you know, today was the last day that I have used a drug or a drink in 25 years. Like I said, should I make it to tomorrow? So today, 25 years ago, was the last day. And I was thinking about that day, you know, and you know, it's really strange because there's a lot, like there's a saying, you know, that more will be revealed. And in the 25 years that I have been sober, and I was a blackout drinker, on top of using many drugs, and a blackout drinker means that at some point throughout your drinking of the day or of the night, you stop remembering things. You continue to function, and you continue to, like, other people might not know that you're in a blackout, but you're not going to remember any of it the next day. And pretty much from the onset of my starting to drink at 12 years old, I was a blackout drinker. And so there's a lot that I don't remember from my drinking. There's a lot that people have filled in through the years. There's a lot that I, you know, at the time would say, I don't want to know anything else. I don't want to hear about the dancing on tables and bars and taking my clothes off in public places and where I fell, you know, passed out and fell asleep. I don't want to hear any more about that, you know. So there was a lot of that was told to me at the time. But the month or two leading up to my sobriety day, there's a lot that I don't remember. And it was a really, I mean, not to make a joke, a dark period or a dark time, but it was a really desperate period of my life, probably the most desperate of my entire life. But I want to say this because I think this is important. If you watch my videos regularly, you know that there was 4 years that I was not active in a 12-step program and that I wasn't taking care of myself and I had no emotional sobriety. The 2 months leading up to my sobriety and those 4 years, which were just like 7 years ago, I came back into the rooms of 12-step meetings. That was probably the two darkest points of my entire life. And almost, I think, worse when I wasn't drinking and using drugs, but I had no emotional sobriety. And emotional sobriety means that we're continuing to take care of ourselves. We're continuing to, you know, clean up the wreckage of our past. We're making amends to people. We're emotionally taking care of ourselves, right? Because you can put the drink or the drug down and not fix those things inside of ourselves, and that is called a dry drunk or a dry addict if you choose to believe in that. And I want to say this for a lot of people out there. I am not somebody that, you know, pertains to the belief that 12-step programs are the only way that you can get clean and sober. I believe that there are many other ways. I think people can find spiritual relief through religion. I think that people can, you know, go to therapy and things like that. For me, a 12-step program has been what worked, because for me, it's about cleaning up the wreckage of my past, you know, finding a higher power, which you don't have to. There's a understanding, I think, in 12-step programs that you have to believe in a higher power. There's a lot of atheists and agnostics in 12-step programs, and we are welcoming of that. So, you know, there's, I just think that for me, that is what has worked, because I needed to fix all of this stuff inside of me. And then on top of that, I needed to get outside help through counseling, because there were a lot of issues that were never going to be fixed just by working 12 steps. And so the combination of counseling and working a 12-step program for me has been what's helped. When I stopped doing those things is when I fell into this rut of not going to meetings and not taking care of myself, and that was when I had no emotional sobriety. When I came back in, okay, and I've talked a lot about this on my vlog, I came back in fighting for my life. And a lead is when somebody in a 12-step program tells their story of what happened, like what it was like, how they got where they're at now and what it's like now. There's a website, and it's called xa-speakers.org, and they have speaker leads from Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Heroin Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous, Al-Anon, Nar-Anon. They have Overeaters Anonymous. They have leads from every 12-step program you can imagine, and you can download them for free, and I will put that link below. So when I came back in, I went to a meeting with my best friend. And that night, I was driving around and I was listening to this lead, and it was from this woman that had gotten sober young, like I did. And she said in there that she was extremely active at 20 plus years of sobriety because for her, you know, it's hard to fall off the wagon if you're sitting in the middle of it. And so what I realized in that moment was that if I wanted to have what other people had, I had to do what other people did. And I had to sit in the middle of the wagon. I had to get extremely involved. And that is what I have done. And as well as take care of myself through reading daily meditations and doing inventory and evaluation with my sponsor and going to seek counseling and things like that, begrudgingly at first, and I talked about that in my vlog the other night. But you know, it all started for me 25 years ago tonight on a snowy, snowy road, and I have to say, like, this is not missed on me that in the last 24 hours we have gotten like 4 to 8 inches of snow in Indianapolis, and I'm looking outside and it is absolutely beautiful. But it reminds me very much of the night that I got sober and that I was out there alone on those roads driving around and completely gone, you know? And how I ever made it out alive without killing somebody else is beyond me. I have no idea. And you know, and I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking about my time in treatment, and I'm thinking about the next couple, you know, videos or the next course of the week or two, talking a lot about this on here. I definitely will be talking about it in my vlogs. But when I was in treatment on New Year's Eve, they have this huge, they have this huge New Year's Eve dance, and it was hosted by Alcoholics Anonymous in Indianapolis. And I wasn't allowed to go because I had asked my counselor at the time if I could have my hairstylist come in and cut my hair for me so that I would look nice to go to this dance, right? And she looked at me, and if it weren't for her, I would not be here today. And I was not somebody that loved counselors. I didn't trust them. I didn't believe in them. I thought they were crap and whatever. And if it wasn't for that woman who I contact every year on my sobriety birthday, if it wasn't for her telling me the things I needed to hear, I would not be here today. And she looked at me and I said, hey, can I have my counselor come in, or can I have my hairstylist come in and cut my hair? And she said, no, princess, you can't. She said, you're no different than anybody else. Why would you think that you deserve to have your hair cut to go to this dance, right? And so she said, and on top of that, she said, because you think you're so special and so different, and you're not going to go to the dance. You're going to stay back here. So I had a friend of mine, and my friend had brought me in all of these Michael Crichton novels, and I was literally reading like one a day. I wasn't real focused on the recovery stuff and treatment. I was reading a Michael Crichton novel a day, like Jurassic Park and Sphere and all those books, of which to this day are some of my favorite books. And I think that's because of the time that I read them as well, even though that they're fantastic books. So on New Year's Eve, I ran out of these books because it was very much like this kind of weather, except for even worse. And there was nobody traveling on the roads, and my friends couldn't bring me things, you know. They couldn't bring me cigarettes. They couldn't bring me all kinds of stuff. Oh, maybe tomorrow I'll tell the Pickle Lady story. I haven't told that in a while. I think I'll tell the Pickle Lady story tomorrow. But anyway, so nobody could bring me anything, and so we ventured out that night to go to this meeting. There was like 6 of us in this van. We ventured out on New Year's Eve to go to this meeting, and that's the Pickle Lady story. And if you've never heard the Pickle Lady story, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll tell it again tomorrow, because it's, for me, like, it was really the start of my journey. But I came back that night, and I went up and I said to this guy that was at the counter, who I ended up working with later, I said to him, I said, hey, I just finished my last book. Do you have anything else to read? And he handed me the basic text of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he threw it across the counter, and he said, here, why don't you go read this? And I was like, how rude. Why would I want to read the basic text of Alcoholics Anonymous? And, you know, I make it, it's important for me that you know that I don't talk about any specific program typically on my on my channels, but this is because of the traditions, but this is just my story. I have read and participated in all 12-step programs that has anything to do with a drug or alcohol nature. I've attended Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. I actually got sober in Cocaine Anonymous, Heroin Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, Codependence Anonymous, you know, Adult Children of Alcoholics. I've gone to Al-Anon meetings. I've gone to any kind of meeting that is out there, pretty much. So, and mostly just because I a lot of times wanted to experience and see what it was like. So I went into the cafeteria that night, and I was going to read these meditations. I don't know. We'll see. I might not get to them. I just kind of wanted to talk on here. But so I went to the cafeteria, and every night, and I talked about this in my vlog last night, they would lay out like, you know, I wasn't taking care of myself. Like, I just wasn't eating healthy. I was just drinking and doing drugs all day long. That was what my life looked like. Okay, the battery died, so I had to replace the battery. Anyway, I wasn't taking care of myself at that time. You know, I just wasn't eating healthy. I wasn't taking care of myself. I really never had any, like, healthy food around me. So when I came into treatment, one of the things I was really excited about was the food. No matter how bad the food was, I was excited that I was getting 3 square meals a day. And every night, like around 10 or 11 o'clock, they would put out in the cafeteria, they would put out like lunch meat and bread and cookies, and I don't know why something like so simple like that just moves me emotionally, but you know, it was like the first time that I was actually able to kind of like take care of myself. And so I made myself some sandwiches, and I went and sat in the cafeteria, like, or where you could sit, like where the tables were, and I was by myself, and it was dark in there, you know, kind of, and I had low light on. I turned like one low light on, and it was snowing outside, and at that time, the cafeteria had all these windows surrounding it that looked outside over the hospital campus, and they had written on the walls, like, you know, like it would say, like, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got, and keep it simple, stupid, and, you know, like, live and learn, and let go, let God. And it had all of these, you know, 12-step slogans on there, which in all honesty kept me sober my first year, because I would go to those 12-step slogans whenever, you know, I was having a hard time, you know, 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time. I lived literally 1 minute at a time, probably for my first 6 months. So anyway, I sat there, and I sat down and I started reading what to me was very old-timey and seemed religious, and I didn't relate to it whatsoever. And at the end of it, I sat there and I read the meat and potatoes of the basic text of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's the first 164 pages. And on the last page, and I can tell you every time I read this, I still get super, super emotional, and most of it I have by heart. But at the last page, or the last paragraph of page 164, it says, abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. And I did not know what this road of happy destiny was, but I knew that I wanted it. I could not say that I had been happy, and I could not even tell you how long. It wasn't even at that point about the drug or the drink, which, to any sober person out there, you know it's not about the drug or the drink, and it just isn't. It's not about the drug or the drink. It's a thinking disease. And I was so miserable, and I was so unhappy. And the power of those words changed me forever, you know? Because I wanted that. I wanted that. Just that simple word. I just wanted happiness. Like, I just wanted to know what happiness was. And I can remember sitting there in the cafeteria and really, truly going back and thinking to myself, you know, when was the last time that you were truly happy? Okay? Not laughing your butt off because you're high or drunk, you know, but like, when was the last time that you felt true joy, true happiness? And I couldn't remember, you know? And it was way back in my childhood. You know, it was some simple memory probably of something way back in my childhood. I literally could not remember, like, a moment of true happiness. And I, you know, and it was on the heels of this pickle lady story, which has, like, really changed me. But Well, I'll just tell the pickle lady story right now. We'll just have a really long Peterisms video tonight. So earlier that night, we had to go to, earlier that night, because I couldn't go to the meeting, or I couldn't go to the dance, those of us that stayed back, there was a meeting that you could go to. Well, the weather was so bad, and I was out of cigarettes, and I knew that, and I couldn't get cigarettes any other way. So I knew that they stopped at like a gas station or like fast food on the way back for those people that went to the meeting, like if you wanted to get something, right? So we went to this meeting, and I didn't want to go, and it was like the first outside meeting I'd ever been to. And so we went to it, and it was in the basement of this church, and it was like all these people were smoking, and it was like, as a smoker back then, it was even like a heavy, you know, lot of smoke. And so anyway, I'm sitting around, and I, you know, of course, sit in the very back, get my cup of real coffee. I was really excited. I talk about this on my vlog a lot, that the power of a real cup of coffee, like at a meeting today, still really moves me. And somebody commented not too long ago, and they said, because their dad had been sober for like 25, 30 years, and they said the very first cup of coffee they ever had was at a meeting, and I just loved that. You know, I don't know, there's a purity about a cup of coffee at a 12-step meeting. And so, we went to this meeting, and I sat in the very back, and this little woman got up, and she was telling her story, and her story was messed up, man. I mean, it was. I mean, she had everything, you know, and she ended up sleeping she lost everything that she ever had, all because of alcohol, and ended up sleeping under a park bench in New Orleans. And I was like, what? I was like, this woman's crazy. This would never happen to this one, right? But I had no insight. I had no insight that I had no way to take care of myself, and I had no idea how to take care of myself, and I was really close to living under park benches. You know, my family and my friends were done with me, and I was this close to being homeless. I almost like, I didn't know where I was gonna go, right? But no, I was so far removed from this woman, I couldn't even see it because I didn't want to see it, you know? I didn't want to see that she was speaking my truth. So the whole time through her speech, or through her lead, she had this big jar of pickles in front of her, and I was like, why is she carrying this big jar of pickles? Like, I don't understand it, you know? Is this like a recovery thing? Is this like crazy? Are these people are a cult, they're crazy, you know, they're trying to brainwash me into all this what are they gonna do with these pickles, right? And this was not been my first experience, so I could just say, you know, like I had gone to treatment, this was my 5th experience. So like, for me, like, this pickle thing, I mean, I should have kind of known a little bit about what was going on, but I thought, well, maybe this is something new that they introduced, you know? So anyway, at the end of her share, her lead, she holds the jar of pickles, right? Or she taps it, and she looked right at me. And she said, and that is why every time I speak, I bring this jar of pickles. And she's looking right at me, okay? And I'm like, why is she looking right at me? You know, in retrospect, she was probably just looking at the room, but I thought she was looking right at me, you know? You ever had those moments where you're like, is this supposed just for me, you know? So anyways, she looked right at me and she said, and that's why whenever I speak, I always bring this jar of pickles, because I used to be a cucumber, but now a pickle. And once you get pickled, you can never go back. And I was like, I'm screwed. Like, I knew in that moment that everything that she spoke was absolute truth. And I knew that no matter all the times I had said, I can quit on my own, I can do it on my own, in my head I'm trying to think to myself, when I get out of treatment, I can moderate it, I can do it different, I'll just smoke a little bit of pot, I'll just drink a little bit here and there. But I knew, like every other time, it was gonna lead back to what I really wanted. Or, I mean, I was already smoking a lot of pot. I was already drinking, you know, beyond belief. I don't know why I thought I could ever kind of control the drinking. So, it really hit me hard. I was like, and I didn't let anybody around me know. I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna let them know that she got in. She got into my head. So, we're on the way back, and we're driving, and we're driving through this area of Indianapolis called Castleton, and there's literally fast food restaurants on every side, you know, and on the radio they were talking about, I think it was Herskavenia, but I don't remember what the story was. It could have been some completely different story, but they were talking about that women were being dragged through the streets and raped. It was on National Public Radio, and it was like this news coverage. And I thought to myself, because you were born in a different country, at a different time, to a different family, you know, your situation is so different, and you take it all for granted. You have no gratitude in your life whatsoever. You are not thankful for one bit of what has been given to you. And your life could be so completely different and you are complaining in your head because you can't continue to do the things that you wanted to do, which are taking down your life anyway. And so that was when I got back to the hospital and I got the book and I sat there and I read it, you know, and I started questioning gratitude and what was I taking for granted in my life. And you know, things did not change for me overnight. I'm just going to be honest. They didn't. I didn't wake up the next day and I was like, okay, I want this. But I think deep down inside a seed was planted, and that seed was, I want this. I want this happiness. And over a period of the next 2 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks that I was in there, I really started listening to what people said. And I really started, you know, holding on to what people said. You know, I remember when my counselor told me that she thought it was time for me to go. And I said, I don't feel like I'm ready to go yet. And she said, are you ready to get out of here? And I said, oh yeah, I'm ready to get out of here. And she said, are you scared to get out of here? And I said, I'm terrified. And she said, you're ready to go. She said, you're ready to go. And she said, it's time for you to go, and it's time for you to practice these things out of here. And you know, for 25 years I put one foot in front of the other. Some days not very well. Some days I show my ass and I'm not a good human being. And other days I'm a perfect example of what I want to be in my head. But most days I fall somewhere in between, and I'm okay with that today, you know? As long as I don't pick up. Because for me today, as long as I don't pick up, I have a fighting chance. I have a fighting chance to be the best person that I can possibly be. I have a fighting chance to have another tomorrow, and that my relationships will improve, and that things in my life will improve, and that I will continue down that road of happy destiny. And that's all I really want at this point, you know? So anyway, I just wanted to get on here and I wanted to share that today because I was driving around and I was super emotional, and I was like, you know, I want to share this in my Peterisms channel. I love this channel. I love that you guys are so willing to listen to the things that I say over here. I talk a lot about my recovery. Boo Radley has been down here the entire time. Hold on, he wants to come up here. He's been down here the entire time getting his head rubbed, haven't you, Boo Radley? Today, you know, the things that really wouldn't have meant a whole lot to me 25 years ago, like a snowstorm, or like my dogs running around, you know, or, you know, my neighbor, she was chasing, she's a black lab, and she was chasing her lab back and forth in the snow back there, and the dogs were going crazy, and I just saw her when I was pulling in, and I rolled down the window, and I said, Laura, I said, can you please stop chasing your dog? I started laughing because the dogs were going crazy, and she's like, oh, look, she's like, she loves it so much, she loves it so much. It's really the simple things, you know. I didn't know that it would take me 25 years to figure that out. And I'm very, very thankful for that today. And I'm extremely thankful for all of you that watch my videos on a daily basis. And I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.